Beautiful people, it's your favorite attorney Candace, and today is episode 1 of our new podcast, Stop Playing with My Goddamn Client. And I want to introduce my lovely co-host, one of my favorite people, my friend from law school, Deshaun Wagner. Welcome to the podcast, my new co-host.
Yes, absolutely. When she says don't play with her client, we mean all of you, everybody, the whole world. So,
Absolutely. So we got a lot of stuff on the menu to talk about today. So what you want to start with?
good. It's a full menu. So, listen, let's do this. Let's start from the top.
I feel like we got to jump into the lawyer situation that's trending right now everywhere you turn.
Mine is on right now. Let's go right on ahead. Start talking about, yes, our friend that's been in the news, jumping
Brian
in.
Steele.
Yes.
God. So when I first saw Brian Steele, I believe it was Monday, he started trending on TikTok because he had got information from his client about an ex parte communication that happened with the judge, a witness, and the district attorneys. And he basically was asking the judge, about the communication, why he wasn't notified, and then ultimately, for the judge to recuse himself and stuff like that. And then the judge asked Brian to identify, to make it known who told him about the ex parte communication. And Brian refused because he's like, nah, that's my attorney client privilege. That's my attorney work product. I'm not giving you that information. And the judge held him in contempt of court. So it's been going up ever since. So what you think about it?
The judge didn't even just held him in contempt of court. They got into a full on argument in open court with the judge basically seeking, begging him to tell him who told you that, who told you that. Basically, wanted to know if Brian still had his ear outside the door on the outside of the bed. Of course, Brian still looking at him like, no, we're not about to get
Yeah.
into that. So it wasn't even a holding him in contempt. They got into a full on back and forth. I will say, Mr. Steele has been humble. He has been honestly poised in that courtroom, trying to tell him, listen, no, sir, red flag, crossing the line. And the judge is going extra hard, which is why I think he's trending, because people do not, when a judge starts leaning over the bench, when he leans farther than that gavel, people start to pay attention because judges don't lean that hard. So everybody's looking like, something's going on. So I'm telling you, that's yes, absolutely. They're going way farther than contempt and something that's definitely going on. So everybody is looking at the situation. They should be. The red flags should be going up in this situation because I can tell you right now, it stinks. It stinks to high heaven. So I'm looking at this as my client being both Young Thug first. Brian still held it down for his client. I think that's number one. He held his client down. He was supposed to hold him down. He's standing right next to Young Thug, telling him, no, we're not going to reveal that information in the most polite way possible. And then continues on into his argument.
Yeah,
No,
he
thank
was
you for your
very
question.
courteous. He was
Continuing on.
very he held it together very well because we know as lawyers like most lawyers are afraid of being held in contempt. I mean, nobody wants to go to jail, especially not in our career
Nobody
where
agrees. Like the red
yeah,
flag.
like especially not in our career when we're supposed to be keeping people out of jail. We don't want to be the ones going to jail. So for him to be facing contempt and to stay so poised and graceful and still stand up for his client, like he literally had one hand in the handcuffs and then he's like, "Wait a minute, judge, may I say something else? I'm also motioning for a mistrial." He was able to think quickly on his toes and at the same time stay graceful and composed as an attorney. So I definitely say for this week on this first episode, Brian Steele gets our award for an attorney that's not letting people play with his goddamn client, right?
He's about to prepare for trial. Next day of trial from jail.
Yes.
Listen,
In the
so
midst of
today's
trial, you
motion,
get held in contempt.
but today's motion was him asking to be put in the cell with Young Thug because we still have to prepare. That's how he says, "Excuse me, Your Honor, can you have the sheriffs put me in that cell because I still need to." Yes, you do, Mr. Steele.
Yeah.
Yes, you still need to prepare, and I hope he comes to court ready for Monday to ask for another motion from his trial because I don't see how this case makes this a trial like this. Mr. Steele is holding it down too hard. No. What
So
you
let's
think?
unpack that a little bit. So I think when the judge first ordered contempt, he didn't specify like the terms of the contempt. He just said he was holding him in contempt and for him to be taken into custody right then and there. And as Attorney Steele was basically getting arrested, he went up to the podium and basically told the judge that he motioned for a mistrial because he can't adequately represent the client while he's in jail, basically. So then subsequent, I believe it might have been later in the day, once Steele actually hired an attorney. But then subsequently the judge laid out like the ground rules of the contempt, and he said it's gonna be each consecutive weekend for 20 days. So the judge basically tried to be slick to avoid the whole mistrial motion. But you know what I mean? Basically saying you're going to be able to be free and handle the trial Monday through Friday, but then on the weekends, you got to go to jail. But I don't think that's going to uphold once they file an appeal, because even if you got to be in jail just one day out the weekend, that is still like stress on you. That's still time taken away from you being able to meet with your colleagues and like prepare for trial, you know?
Yeah, I think not only that, but I think the preparation part, like you have to think about it from a standpoint of an attorney. When I'm preparing, I have my laptop, I got my music going, my coffee. I'm in a mode where my mind is tuned up and I'm focused on my attorney in the case. You can't do that in jail. They're not
Nope.
even allowed to have cell phones. I mean, unless you got a burner phone you hide in between your mattress, how you gonna prepare?
Nope. And then just mental his mental stability. He's not going to be mentally stable sitting in a jail every weekend. He has a family. He got a wife. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I
how
think
can
the wife
he?
was the one who put in a motion for a bond. They put it in under her name because obviously she's like, "What? You can't just take my husband the day of and give me this force this contempt on her." I think it's just as much on her and his family as it is on him.
Yeah.
And it's obviously multiple studies that tell people what judge.
So when I saw the wife go up in court, you know, to argue her motions for bond and stuff like that, I think she did an excellent job. I was impressed with her. She
Yeah,
didn't
she
back down.
thing that we need to know because I was thinking she sounded great put together. Maybe she just getting some of her husband's glow on her.
Well, I believe she's one of the partners at the firm. So, but yeah, she was very well spoken, very well put together, and you know that's kind of a difficult position to be in, going up against the judge on something like that. But I think she kind of shed a lot of light on the fact that the judge really didn't know what he was talking about, because it was a part in her motion argument where she was asking the judge to clarify if it was a criminal contempt or civil contempt, because
Yeah,
those
yeah,
there are two distinguishments and they are handled differently. And so the judge orally said it was criminal contempt, but the way he was treating it was like a civil contempt.
yeah. And I think that's
So,
gonna be a flag for his whatever. If he gets into a civil or judicial complaint, that's gonna be a flag. Because I think what they're gonna say is it doesn't matter what punishment you were trying to give him, you were seeking that information. It does not matter. He even
yeah.
gave Mr. Steele 5 minutes. He said, "Go, let's just recess for 5 minutes so you can think about it." And Mr. Steele said, "I don't need 5 minutes.
Yeah,
This
like
is
I'm ready right now.
but what he wanted out of that whole from start to finish, what he wanted was information. And so that tells you right now, because honestly, what we look at when we determine whether or not somebody's conduct is appropriate is whether or not there is an ulterior motive. And obviously, his motive was not just to punish Mr. Steele for disobeying a court order; it was to get that information. And so, if Mr. Steele turned around at any point and said, "I want the information," I'm pretty sure the judge would have said, "Okay, order rescinded. Sit down." No, that
Right.
tells
But
me
it
he was
still doesn't undo the damage, right? Because regardless of if he tells him who told him or not, the damage is still done. It was still an ex parte communication. So by default, it's gonna have to be a mistrial, right? Because you know, it wasn't just the judge talking with one of the district attorneys. The judge was talking with the district attorney and a witness on the case. Like that's a huge red flag. It's gonna have to be a mistrial. Um, and then the other thing that you had brought up, I thought was a good point that you were saying that the judge actually admitted to being a part of the ex parte communication. So it's not like he denied it and said, "What are you talking about? That never happened. Please disclose who told you this so I can, handle the situation." He admitted that it was an ex parte communication, but he was offended because he wants to know, is it a recording device in his chambers? He wants to know, was somebody standing outside the door, like you said, with their ear to the door? He's curious now, like, what else do these people know? Like, how are they finding out this information? And so he pretty much told on himself. So I think it's a slam dunk when it comes to the violation of the ex parte rule, because he admitted. And then when I researched it yesterday, he was kind of backpedaling. Like, he was saying allegedly ex parte communication. But it's like, bro, you already admitted during the first hearing, the first time that Steele brought it up, you admitted to the ex parte communication.
Yeah,
so
somebody probably told him. Somebody probably read that video back to him and said, "Excuse me, like,
yeah,
why would you want to know who told him if there was no ex parte communication? The two don't fit, right? There's no need to even ask where you heard the information. If no one said it, it never happened. You know, it wasn't even.
exactly.
He didn't even say, why are you lobbying false allegations? That never occurred. He never even bothers to deny it. He goes directly to, who told you? Who gave me up?
Exactly.
Who in that room said that I was up? No, sir. No,
Exactly. It was wild, 100. It was ghetto up in that courtroom, baby. I was like, what? Like, it was no remorse for the ex parte communication. It was no acknowledgement of the rule to ex parte communication. Like, you're a judge, you know that there's rules regarding ex parte communication. You know what I mean? And he just didn't have any remorse. It was like, I'm gonna punish this attorney because he called me red-handed, and I'm gonna try to reverse it and make it seem like he did something wrong because he's not telling me who told him. So
yeah,
that
and that
brings up the other point too that the wife was arguing about. The wife was basically saying this is not a fair contempt because Steele is in a position where if he discloses the information, he violates attorney-client privilege and he could be subject to a bar complaint and lose his license. So what do you think about that?
yeah, I think at that point you decided between your client, the judge, and you. And I think he picked correctly. You picked everybody
He
but
picked
the
right.
judge.
He picked
Obviously, you
correctly.
picked correctly.
Would you have
So
made the
that's
same decision if you was in that situation?
absolutely. I think, listen, when I'm in court and somebody tries to play my client, I'm on my feet. On my feet. And the judge would say, Attorney Wake, do you have a comment? I sure do. Thank you for picking on me. Thank you for calling on me because I was about to object. Like, absolutely not. But I think as attorneys, we got to know you defend your client all the way. I don't care what the judge is saying. I don't care what orders are being pushed on you because these judges are intimidating. And it
They are
honestly can be
intimidating.
intimidating in those positions. And you're an attorney, they can make you feel like you're wrong. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, but judges will gaslight you and say, "Are you sure? Is that really the answer?" And as an attorney, it is absolutely your job to stand on business until they hit that gavel, until that courthouse closes. You stand on business for every client you're there. And Brian Steele and Young Thug have a long relationship. He better have represented his
Yeah.
client like that. Like, he really went hard for him, as it looks like he's been going hard for him from the beginning. And I think the problem now is there's going to have to be a second trial. So
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a mistrial. And then we got this saying within the legal community that a lawyer falls on their sword for their client, right? And so when I was looking at this case, I was thinking like, this is a dang good example of a lawyer falling on their sword for their client because he could have just been like, you know what? I'm not going to jail. So, judge, this is who told me. You know what I mean? But he was like, nah, man, if I got to take a L for my client, like, I'm taking the L for my client. like. So, I thought that was pretty interesting as well. But I think you were about to say something else. What you was about to say?
yeah, I'm thinking about this, basically how this is going to play out afterwards. Sorry, I got company with my baby.
Stop playing with my goddamn client. This is our first episode. I'm so excited. Like, man, Deshaun and I, back in law school, we used to like throw those bows legally, of course. And so, man, it's such an excitement for me to be on the podcast with my girl. She's all the way in DC, of course, in the DC, Maryland area, and I'm in the great state of Texas. So for us to be able to come together and have this podcast and bring you guys information and our perspective and opinions on things that are going on and give you our legal, thoughts and stuff, it's an amazing feeling. So, man, so next they're gonna have to deal with an appeal, of course, and I'm almost like certain that the appellate court is gonna rule in Steele's favor because it's just too much clear-cut evidence that the judge was engaged in wrongdoing. How do you think the appellate court is going to rule? Because you did a lot of appellate work, right? So for those of you who don't know, we got 3 different levels at the state court. We got the state court, or it could be called the district court. Then you got the appellate court. So if you don't like what happened at the state court, you can appeal the decision up to the appellate court, which is the second higher up. And then after that, you got the state Supreme Court. Okay. Then after that, you still don't like the decision, you go all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. So right now, what still you back? Because we had lost you for a moment. You back?
My company just went, they got a little.
Man, we might have to bring him on here because he our client too.
Just running around, running around, wanting some attention. But I don't think this is going to go this way. I think this is going to stop at this judicial contempt. I honestly think that the way this judicial committee should come down on him, there should not be any additional issues. If there's a mistrial and the case gets kicked to a new judge and this judge is sanctioned, why would it not stop there? I think that any further digging into this situation is going to embarrass this judge. And I think one thing judges do not want to be is embarrassed off the bench in Georgia. No.
Yeah, I definitely think the judge about to get embarrassed. I really do.
That's my point. I'm pretty sure there's a back room right now rolling their eyes. There's some chief judge that's about to have to rule on the motion of whether or not to sanction this judge back there rolling their eyes like, why didn't he just let it go? Just let it go. It's embarrassing. Trust me, I know how crazy the courthouse get, because not only did I practice appellate work, I've been in enough courthouses to know when you can always tell when it's a judge getting in trouble. Everybody running around, our law clerks is frenzy, all the papers is going, everybody is static, and you're like, who in trouble today? Who is his next? I can tell you, it's his time. I think it's the judge still handling this bond hearing. But
exactly. Like, how can you be a witness to the violation of the law and then sit as a judge in determining the actual merits of the case?
That should not be his job. He should have passed this. He should have passed it up the very night that video hit. So I'm pretty sure he did not get any sleep. I'm pretty sure he got so many phone calls, knocks on his door, like, Judge, you see your video?
He should have immediately recused himself. Immediately recused himself. And they filed a motion for recusal. He denied it. They filed a motion for bond. He denied it.
I think that's the crazy part. So anybody who does not know, yes, the sitting judge gets to rule on their motion as to whether or not they have to substitute themselves. It's the same thing out here in DC. You file a motion to substitute judge, it's going to get ruled on by that judge first to ask you, why do you think I should recuse myself? And obviously my first comment is always, I don't want to have this conversation with you. Excuse me?
Yeah.
Pass this on to your sister superior, okay? So I can have a real conversation. But you also have ethical judges who will just say, because I did have a judge that just said, yeah, you're right. I used to represent this defendant. She used to work in the office. The attorney's office where the defendant was. I said, no, ma'am, we're not going.
Yeah, some judges will automatically look at the case and they'll be like, oh, I know this person or whatever, and they'll recuse themselves. That's why I don't really understand why this particular judge is digging his heels in so far, because I feel like at this point, he knows he messed up. Even at the hearing later in the evening, I think it was later in the evening Monday, when Steele's wife showed up to court, the body language of the judge, I feel like it let you know that he knew he had messed up. Yeah, it's like he had his hand like this on his face the whole time. While he was looking at the computer, he was like holding his chin, and his body language, his tone of voice, the way he was allowing Steele's wife to talk to him, because she wasn't holding back. She was talking to him like he was an opposing counsel, not a judge. Like, right. Again, stop playing with her goddamn client and her hubby. You know what I mean?
She went hard for him.
Yeah. And you know what? That's something us lawyers typically don't do. We typically don't put ourselves in a situation to represent a client that we have an emotional attachment to, So for her to get up there and represent her own husband and be able to do it so well, because I know she's emotional, right? You get notification that anybody you love is about to go to jail, let alone your husband, the person that you got to see every day and talk to. They're about to go to jail for multiple consecutive weekends until they serve 20 days. Like,
Yeah, that's a lot of weekends. So I did the math. We're talking about the next few months.
yeah.
Jail, like what?
So she
Absolutely
was
insane.
in. She definitely was on point with being able to get up there. She wasn't all emotional. She got up there, said what needed to be said, and I'm sticking on her side. The only thing I don't like about this situation is that we got to keep it real. I hate that it's a black judge. I
Yeah.
hate that it's I hate that
In
it's a black judge.
in
And I say
Georgia.
that, yeah, I say that, Deshaun, is because, like, you and I know that all the way, even starting at the inception in law school, every single day you got a lot of non-black judges that's doing wicked, ridiculous things, but it's not being brought to the attention of the public like this situation is. I'm glad, on the other hand, that this situation is being brought to the light of the public, because now the public can see how the judicial system is kind of flawed. You know what I mean? But I just hate that it's the black judge,
Yeah.
as the example. You know what I
It's the one
mean?
that's going to be served up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a black judge, but it's also a black defendant. And that's one thing Mr. Still has been arguing for a long time, because this is not his first time calling foul on the judge, the prosecutors. He called foul on the police in December of 2022. He did an interview saying that every single time somebody is stopped by the police in Georgia, they get asked, "Do you know anything about Mr. Williams? Did Mr. Williams smoke a cigarette? Did Mr. Williams?" He said everybody gets asked in Georgia about his client, because they are making sure that any crime he commits, he gets put to the state for it, and he feels like they're properly targeting him, trying to persecute him. So he's been calling foul for a long time. So yeah, this black judge is about to be on the hook for something. But I mean, a black defendant getting caught up, getting targeted, and having an attorney that's going to stand on business for him. Oh well, the black judge is going to have to get in line and do what he needs to do, because he was wrong. And when you're wrong, you're wrong.
Most definitely. And like you said, the defendant is black. So either way it go, we got a black judge that's making us look crazy. But we got the black defendant that, we want him to win, and we want him to get adequate representation.
Yeah, we don't need one more black person in jail for something that they didn't do. We don't need
Right.
one more black person in jail, just being railroaded by the judicial system. Because honestly, think about it this way: if it wasn't Mr. Steele up there, would another attorney have found this information out?
Yeah.
Think about that. Like, think about what would happen if we did not have this video, and all we had was a guilty verdict against Young Thug, and he was being walked into custody right now. Nobody would have
Mm-hmm.
known.
Because just think about it. I mean, us attorneys, we go to court every single day, but what's going on in the actual courtroom is not all over TikTok and CNN and everything like that. So it's nobody really knows. You'll have a crazy day in court. The judge will do some off the wall things, but it's really only limited to the people that was in the courtroom at that moment. You know what I mean? Nobody's broadcasting it on CNN or anything like that. So this judge really, he didn't really think it through.
That's
But
somebody that he's a frequent flyer. When I see coming up like this, when I see
yeah,
him
it
coming
means
up,
he's doing it
he's
all
on
the time.
yeah, he's a frequent
Because for him
flyer.
to be that comfortable knowing that this is on national television, it's recorded, it's being broadcast, for him to still engage the way he's engaging, yeah, he, like you said, he's doing this frequently. But the other thing I seen last night was interesting. They showed in the video, um one of the witnesses, what's the bald head guy that was testifying and he kept acting like he ain't know anything?
Right.
Um,
I know you're talking about.
Forget his name. We should know. But the guy, black guy, let me look it up real quick. But anyways, his testimony was done. The judge had paused for the day for them to get lunch or something. And so right after the court reporter stopped typing everything up, the district attorney walks up to the witness stand where the witness is and starts talking to him. Now, I thought that was crazy because it shouldn't be any conversation. The court reporter has stopped, reporting what's being said. The judge has dismissed everybody for lunch. Why are you talking to the witness? You know what I mean? Like, we need to know what's being said. But she
Yeah,
knew. that they were off the record at that point.
Yeah, I think that's happened. That happens all the time, and I think it's unfortunate, but it's incumbent on the attorney to then flag that, because I've had to flag that a number of times when I'm in court. Even when we break for lunch, even when we break for the day or for the weekend, I say, Judge, remind the witness is still under oath. The witness cannot discuss his or her testimony with anybody until the testimony has been concluded. So unless he was asking him what he wanted on his sandwich, there's a problem.
Exactly.
I always flag that. Every time we go to lunch, where you going to lunch? McDonald's? I see 47 people in that line. Judge, please remind him he is under oath. We do not want to be back here next week to restart this trial from start to finish, because you don't know how to obey your oath and not converse with people outside of during a lunch break. But this sounds like it happened in open court.
It was in open court. Like the court reporter hadn't even fully got up yet. Like she was like standing up and stretching, you know.
Did she keep talking?
No, she did not. She was standing up, stretching, looking around, like she thinking about where she finna go get her lunch from. That's what she over there doing. Yeah.
He's thinking about the law.
I think the dude name was Kenneth, but I'm gonna look it up and make sure.
And you know what? Now that you raise it, I wonder if that's the witness.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that's the witness, and I say that because when Steele brought up the ex parte communications, he specifically said that the court and the district attorney were in the judge's chamber communicating with a witness who'd already stated in court that he pled the fifth and that he didn't want to testify. And if you look at the prior videos with that witness, I want to say his name is Kenneth Copeland.
Yes, yeah.
I want to say that's his name. Sorry, I misspoke. Not Copeland. But anyways, bald head black guy, right? He'd already stated on the record, yeah, Kenneth Copeland. That is his name. Okay. So he already stated on the record in court that he was pleading the fifth, you know? So it sounds like maybe the judge and the DA were trying to coerce him to testify and trying to, you know.
Yeah, because Mr. Steele made it very clear as soon as the trial started. He said, you are not going to hear a confession from Mr. Williams. His client is not going to confess to any crimes, which means the only way they're getting him on a dime, a dollar a day of a conviction is if they, that's it. That's the only way. And I think people are shrugging their shoulders. I think at this point, the witnesses are wondering, what's the deal? Why is it so important? Can we just go home? What's the issue?
But I thought it was so funny. I know this is kind of off our little path, but Kenneth, when that man testified, well, eventually he ended up testifying, and the DA asked him to identify Young Thug, right? So he was just like, he can't see, he got vision issues, and when he stood up, he was looking around for like a whole 60 seconds. He looking at everybody. Then he like, I think it's that bald head dude in the back. Like he was acting a fool. And I was like, yo, he should have just went ahead and pointed out one of the jury members if he really wanted to be an a-hole and be funny. But I think his testimony, you could tell he's a bit uneducated and things like that. But to the best of his ability, he was kind of holding his own as a witness. And it seems like perhaps Attorney Steele maybe he had prepped him or something, because the way he was responding to the questions, like she would say, how old are you? And he would say, I'm old. You know, he wasn't directly like just freely giving information. She had to like pry it out of him. Obviously, he was acting like a hostile witness.
That's exactly what Steele flagged, that the witnesses were being coerced. They were being offered deals. If they wanted a deal, and you know what? I wonder what Mr. Copeland's criminal history looks like. If he's being offered a deal in another case and they require him to get on the stand, you can require somebody to get on the stand. You cannot parrot what they say. So he can take his deal, get on the stand, and act a fool just like he did and still keep his deal.
And that's probably why he acted a fool, because he was like, okay, y'all gonna force me. The judge forced him to get on the stand because he had signed an immunity deal. And there is a rule in Georgia that basically says if you sign immunity, you gotta testify. You can't plead the fifth, right? So that is the law, but they can't control what you get up there and actually say, you know? So that's why he was acting a fool. So
friends used to call me Young Thug. He could have said whatever he wanted to say, but you can't parrot their testimony.
Right.
That's the witness that they're talking about, and that's the deal that they're talking about. So I'm curious now to see what Mr. Steele is going to do, whether he's going to take it too far, because he has decorum. Surprised me. He was so humble. He was so polite. He didn't raise his voice. That one time. Just no, judge. No,
But I
thank
think you
you.
hit it on the head earlier. You said he had been dealing with this type of stuff from the DA, from the judge for a while, and he's been complaining about it and fighting up against it. So, it was just like, okay, this is just another day in this particular courtroom. Now, of course, he wasn't expecting to get held in contempt, but it seemed like he had been dealing with foolishness from this particular judge and those district attorneys for a while. So
And
he
I'm glad
wasn't
he's
that
still gonna be able
surprised.
to do this. Now we
And then,
know.
any good attorney, we know you always keep your cool because, honestly, you never know what a judge is going to say. You never know what's going to happen in court. So you just always got to keep your cool. But honestly, on the inside, he was freaking out like, oh my God, is he really?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
one of his kids probably got a recital or something next weekend. Now he like, dang, I got to be in jail.
Yeah, right. He had his vacation schedule.
you know? And it's really disgusting though too because us attorneys we're supposed to be here to help our clients avoid injustice. But in this case, because he's helping his client fight for justice and doing a good job at it, he's being facing injustice himself with the contempt. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. We need a reformation with the judicial system for sure.
We needed that a long time ago. But I think in place of that, what you're going to have is attorneys that don't let people play with their clients in the meantime, in between
You,
time.
I didn't hear you. You said we're gonna have attorneys that do what with their clients?
I said we're not going to get a reformation in the justice system anytime soon. We need one, but in the meantime, what we are going to have and what we need are attorneys that won't let anybody play with our clients. That's what we're going
Yeah,
to have. Because otherwise, listen, I cannot think of what would have happened in that courtroom if there was another attorney who didn't have this information and it wasn't on TikTok. Young Thug would have been dog walked into a
absolutely.
conviction 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Brian's still sitting there
absolutely.
holding his own. They dapping each other up. They listen to his music while they're sitting there. He knows that he got an attorney that's going to ride with him. And if he did not have that attorney, I mean, one thing is yes, this is a rare situation where we get a look into the justice system. But the other side of the coin is not a rare situation. Those are common situations, and we all know. You tell somebody it's a black man in jail, innocent, like I know one too. I know one too. We all know somebody who's in that situation who was railroaded. And this is giving you a look into the justice system to show you how far judges and prosecutors, and unfortunately sometimes law enforcement and witnesses will go for an unjustified conviction.
Facts. So, anyways, we're gonna give a lawyer to salute to our boy Jordan. I was gonna call him
Brian
Jordan
Steele,
Steele.
yes.
Brian
Hopefully he gets
Steele.
rewarded this weekend. Hopefully somebody
Yeah,
gets him. I don't know. I don't know if he having prison toilet wine or somebody's bringing him a bottle of some Chardonnay. I hope it's something good.
yeah.
It's Father's Day weekend. Like, come on.
Right. We
Hey,
give our
like,
lawyer salute to Brian Steele.
it's
You know,
opportunity. This man a cup.
that's how you show the court and anybody to stop playing with your goddamn client. So,
Takes one time,
lawyer salute.
one good time. Yes.
What do you think about the situation with LeBron's tattoo? Verdict just came down on that case with the tattoo artist, and I want to say it was NBA 2K that posted his tattoo.
Loose fan of LeBron. When basketball is on, I got one eye on it, one eye on my work.
Yeah, I love me some Bron. Like,
So,
listen, let me tell you a brief story. Remember when I used to work for the NIU General Counsel?
mm-hmm.
You was with the chief diversity officer. We used to do big things in law school, y'all. Still doing big things. But anyways, that's how I started being a basketball fan. LeBron. Remember they had the playoffs. Well, LeBron was with Cleveland at the time, him and Kyrie, and they were in the playoffs against Golden State. Well, I was working for the general counsel at that time, and the playoffs had just started. We all went to lunch, and I'm the only female attorney. It's like 3 male attorneys, and it's the general counsel, the assistant general counsel, and another assistant, but it's all men. And they're talking about the playoffs and who's going to win. Right. So, as a woman, it's like, well, I want to be a part of the conversation. But all I knew was my daughter's father at home and my brothers and stuff. They were all rooting for LeBron. So I regurgitated basically what they were saying at home. And I'm like, well, I think LeBron is gonna win. I think Cleveland's gonna win. And let me tell you something. The general counsel leaned over and looked at me, and he was like, "All you need to know is Clay gonna shoot those threes. Steph Curry gonna shoot those threes. It's gonna be threes, 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 and Cleveland is going down. They're gonna lose." And I was so kind of like embarrassed and uncomfortable because I didn't know how to argue back because I didn't really know sports like that. I mean, I knew sports. I played sports
Of course, but
growing
say
up.
yes, sir. Okay,
Yeah, but
please.
I didn't know like I wasn't in tune in those couple years because we had our head in the books. We wasn't thinking about those
Exactly.
sports and stuff. I wasn't updated on like what to say, so I was just like quiet. I was just like, okay.
That your law school had
So
just an objection.
yeah, but every single game in the playoff, I sat there and I watched it. And when Cleveland won, baby, that was LeBron's third ring. Okay, so that next Monday, I went up into his name was Jerry Blakemore. I went into the general counsel's office and I'm like 3 + 3, 3 rings for LeBron. And that's how I became like really an avid basketball fan because of that situation. Because like the fact that the GC kind of sort of embarrassed me at lunch and I didn't know what to say, it made me focus in on basketball and really like pay attention. But anyways, our boy LeBron is kind of sort of indirectly in the news again with the
Yeah,
tattoo
was he in
situation.
the news? Well, his body art is in the news,
His
so
body art is in the news. His tattoo.
so I got
So what's the deal with
LeBron.
that?
I'm looking at this judgment. It did just come down, but I think the person I feel bad for is the tattoo artist. Listen, I feel for every artist that's covered in their art, that's marking ink. Okay, yes, I am. Pro
Well, let's
tattoo
tell
and
them. Let's tell
is
them first for the people. Let's tell them first for the people who don't know. Give them a summary of what the heck going on, because most
okay.
people
So
probably don't
LeBron,
know.
everybody knows that 2K comes out every year.
Right?
2K for basketball, 2K for wrestling, 2K for football, all of them. Okay, and this was a specific, and I think this applies to all 2K, obviously. But in this specific year, they were remaking LeBron, and everybody knows the graphics for video games is going up. Okay, graphics are bigger and better. And now in 2K, when you click on LeBron's face, when you click on his body, you can clearly see his art. They have been redesigned and reimagined into whatever, I don't know, whoever video game maker is over 2K right now. LeBron's art is clearly visible when you click on him, when you play with him. And of course, the artist is thinking, well, every time he shoots a free throw from the loop, his art is swinging into that basket. And so he wanted to copyright his art, but he specifically wanted an infringement order against 2K from reproducing the art. So I think what he was looking for was for them to either blur it or for them to make it less visible or replace a dog with a
He
frog so
wanted a
people
check. That's what he wanted. He wanted some moolah. That's what he wanted.
my money. But obviously, the judge said, I'm sorry. No, yes, you have, infringement rights. This is your art. And on any other canvas, you could enforce that. But when the canvas is somebody's body, no, sir, no. Now, obviously, my first take on this is I think the reason this order came down is because it's LeBron. Okay. You're going to get LeBron everywhere. You're going to get LeBron on a poster, a post-it note, a sticker, a piece of gum. Okay, so if this man gets copyright infringement rights over the art on LeBron's shoulder, he's going to be smacking that order in the face of everybody who wants to produce LeBron in a way that basically says he's going to get a portion of LeBron's profits every single time somebody so much as takes his picture. Because what he was arguing was that they could not reproduce it in any way. They couldn't remake it. That the fact that they were creating a picture of LeBron and clearly making his tattoo visible, they were basically repositioning his art. And obviously, the judge is going to tell you body autonomy is always going to supersede copyright infringement laws. It does not matter. And so this was a 6-year case. He appealed 3 times and he lost all 3. So
Yeah,
in
that
this
was a
case, I hate it for my client, but I would have had to sit him down and say, I'm sorry, but where are we going with this? Where are we going? This is LeBron. Where are we going with this? Are we going to follow LeBron around and scrape his arm off? Now, I know this guy did not just do one tattoo. He did do a lot of art. A lot of art on LeBron. As y'all know,
and
LeBron
he
is
did a lot of art on other artists too.
yeah, and he did.
I
And
mean, not
sometimes
artists. I'm sorry, not artists. He did a lot of art on other
okay,
athletes in the
yeah.
NBA.
And I think this art he specifically drew for LeBron. So I don't even think this is on a lot of other people's arms. But obviously, after this verdict, people gonna have a LeBron tag because he
Yeah,
lost. So we can
I
only
was a
God.
bit intrigued by it because, back in law school, we had that entertainment course taught by entertainment and intellectual property course. It was taught by Professor King, Yolanda King. And I remember during our time in law school, like right before we graduated, I think 2013, she did a article on tattoos and how they are interpreted with regard to copyright law. And it's interesting now, almost 10 years later, pretty much 11 years later, that this thing is kind of like coming to a surface, because when she wrote her article, there were not very many cases that actually went to trial. It was a lot of different situations and cases where people sent cease and desist letters, where they filed a lawsuit, but then they hurry up and settled. But not many cases actually went to trial, so you couldn't really see any precedent being set with regard to tattoos and copyright law.
But you
You know
can't
what I
really cease
mean?
and desist. It's your arm. Like, what you gonna do?
Yeah.
Sleep? You can't.
So that's the interesting thing. It's like the tattoo on a body, it meets the legal ramifications for a valid copyright, but it's just the enforceability of it. Because with copyrights, so long as you put it in a tangible medium of expression, you record it in some way. The moment you do that, you have a copyright in it.
Yeah, you can
And
protect
so
it.
most artists, they usually sketch it out on like the parchment paper first, and then they put it on your arm with the Vaseline and they tattoo it in. So either one of those, the moment they put it on that parchment paper or whatever, it's a tangible medium expression. The moment they attach it to the body of the person, it's in a tangible medium of expression. It's original works of authorship, yada yada yada. It's a copyright that exists for it. But like you said, there's the issue of body autonomy. So it really doesn't make much sense for a human being to have to
And LeBron,
be kind of like
you want to tell LeBron everything?
bound by this tattoo, and they can't really do certain deals and stuff because of the tattoo. It's like, from my perspective, yeah, we have laws and then we want to protect artists, but we want to make sure that we're creating precedent that is not going to overwhelm the court system, that is not going to be ridiculous, like you said, because LeBron is everywhere. That means he wouldn't be able to do much of anything. Or every time he did a deal, the people who you're doing a deal with, they're going to have to break off bread to the artist. It just would get out of control if that was the case. So when I was looking at the LeBron, I'm calling it the LeBron case, but this particular case with LeBron's tattoo in the 2K situation, it seemed like it really turned on the fact that the jury interpreted an implied copyright license based on 2K's agreement with both the NBA and LeBron to use his likeness. And his likeness includes his tattoos. So that's really what it boiled down to, was those agreements, right?
Yeah, and I think the thing for LeBron, because obviously we got to talk about the fact that LeBron has stayed silent on this case. But I think the thing for LeBron is that there's a penalty clause in his NBA agreement. He's required to do 2K. All basketball stars, everybody who's in the NBA, when they sign an agreement, NBA in 2K for big stars is not optional. That's a part of your deal. Doing this video game is a part of what makes you in the NBA. And so if LeBron had backed out of that deal, he would have had to pay. And I think he's looking at it as, listen, you coming for your coins, but you're not gonna get to mine. I'm not gonna pay for you to put an infringement on my own body. Absolutely not. Because I thought it was weird he stayed silent, but I think if you really think about it, LeBron would have breached multiple contracts. And he
Yeah,
jumped in and had them take him out of 2K or modify his likeness to where it would have been they couldn't put his tattoos. I couldn't even imagine what remedy you would give him to cover these tattoos. It's all over LeBron's side. What do you
yeah.
think about the fact that Mr. LeBron has so far stayed silent because he hasn't even spoken now, even though the verdict has come down?
I think he has a very good legal team, because if that's my client, what do he need to get up and say? Like, you're not saying anything. You go, no, LeBron, shh, we're not saying nothing, because the lawsuit was directly against 2K owners, which is um, Take Two was the company. Take Two LLC owns 2K. So the tattoo artist, his attorney strategically and intentionally did not include LeBron. And so it's no way I would have let my client just voluntarily enter into the lawsuit and, to defend the artist. Absolutely not. because another issue with this situation is um, the body autonomy issue. Just imagine how LeBron feels with having somebody fight over something that's permanently attached to his body, to have it even be an issue associated with something that's on his body. Even though he's not a part of the lawsuit directly, he still is probably getting a little bit of blowback because his name's going to be in the news and headline because it's the tattoo on his body. So
Yeah.
that makes you feel so uncomfortable. So it kind of makes me think from a legal perspective, do we need to start having tattoo artists sign a work for hire agreement, basically releasing all copyright claims? You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
like
because
if
I
you
mean,
hire
he did pay
somebody,
for it. He did pay a lot of money for these
yeah.
tattoos.
Because if you hire somebody, say for example, create you a logo for your company, or if you commission somebody to create artwork for you, of course, us being lawyers, we're going to make them sign a work made for hire because we want to make sure we own the copyright because I'm paying you to make this for me. So
Yeah.
I feel like the same principle applies when it comes to tattoos. You're getting paid to make this, right? But most customers are not going to say, sign this work for hire agreement for this tattoo. Nah, most people just go in there and they get their tattoo. But
Indeed.
going in the future, to avoid this whole argument about every time a person physically appears on different media streams and stuff like that, having a copyright lawsuit attached to their name and stuff, to avoid that, you might have to start getting a work for hire agreement from these artists, these tattoo artists.
Yeah, I think that would mean that I'm hiring just this much less tattoo artists because we're not about to be negotiating an agreement. What I want is some art. I think that the fact that LeBron paid for it honestly should have changed the game here because LeBron's say should have mattered. And I'm pretty sure the fact that LeBron stayed silent spoke volumes in this case. I can guarantee you they didn't subpoena him and he didn't volunteer himself. I guarantee you his presence, his missing presence in that courtroom was speaking about it. So the judge was saying, "Well, it looks like LeBron doesn't object," because that would have been my assumption. He doesn't jump in and say, this is my friend. He could have his art. This is my boy. Let's put some protection on this. I'll give him X amount of money." Then there's no need because technically LeBron paid for the art and it's on his body. So
Yeah.
he has two reasons to have some type of control over where it goes and who gets paid for it.
Yeah, it's your body. It's almost like a hairstylist putting some weave in your hair or doing a new hairstyle on you and then telling you, well, this is my I have a copyright in this hairstyle. So every time you go on TV or TikTok or whatever, TikTok got to pay me, YouTube got to pay me. Like, what? Like, nah, it don't work like that. So I think right now, for the future of the law, with regard to tattoos and copyrights, I think it's going to be interesting because now you're starting to see some precedent getting set. It has yet to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. So far, it seems like it's just been local district and appellate courts, ruling on it. But I'm excited to see, the next 5-10 years, what law gets set, because when they created these copyright laws, back then it was just more so people painting on the canvas, people painting murals on the wall, stuff like that. And now with technology and all this, things have significantly evolved where the justices are gonna have to set some new precedents. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the possession is 9/10 of the law. That's what's gonna rule, right? The artist owns the art, but whoever owns the canvas controls the art. I think that's exactly where we go. You draw if I'm your canvas, guess what? When I get up, so does this art, and it's going where I go. I think
Do
that's
you
the ground rule.
do you remember the Mike Tyson lawsuit for the tattoo on his face in the movie Hangover?
Ooh,
Yeah,
yes,
that's kind of what
yes,
kicked all the tattoo lawsuits off, that particular case with the Hangover. Now they ended up settling because they filed the lawsuit against the movie production company and stuff before it was released. So it kind of put those producers in a position of like, well, dang, we can't release our movie because they didn't file the lawsuit. They have I'm pretty sure they probably got a TRO to stop the release of the movie, and so it kind of put pressure on them to settle. So they went ahead and settled with the tattoo artist or whatever. But in their response to the lawsuit, they basically said that a tattoo does not qualify for copyright. Now, obviously, I disagree with that. I think a tattoo is a copyright. It meets the legal definition of it. But Yeah, that was kind of what kicked off the whole tattoo copyright lawsuits and all that stuff. That big old that like tribal mark on Mike Tyson's face.
It's legendary now, so
It is legendary.
good for you, because that tattoo is just as famous as Mike Tyson is at this point.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I thought that was so. When I remember that was back in like what early 2000s,
Yeah, that's like really
2008 maybe, some or something like that. But I remember thinking to myself like the audacity, you know what I mean? Like this man has this on his face, he can't help but show it. You know what I mean?
he does would infringe the copyright. It's on his face. Yeah, there's no way.
Even if somebody took a picture of him, because we know when somebody takes a picture of you in public, they own that picture. They have the copyright in that picture. So even if somebody took a picture of him, then the artist will have a claim. The artist, the tattoo artist, will end up having a claim saying, "Hey, you, yeah," against the photographer saying, "Hey, you took a picture of my art and you're reproducing my art or whatever." So it just gets crazy. But I'm excited to see this issue go before the U.S. Supreme Court to get them to rule on it. I feel like I'm not sure if we have time. We got 10 more minutes. I'm not sure if we got time to go into our other stuff. What do you think?
So that's the one real quick, because I think the one that's in my mind, the one I think listeners gonna want to listen to is this bar incident. And you and I was talking about this bar incident, but I want you to tell people who wasn't
Oh, what
there.
happened at the bar with my homeboy the other day?
Let's break it down.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that real quick, and then we might do a follow up episode on it. So basically, one of my homeboys slash client or whatever, yes, my friends sometimes hire me. But anyways, um, he was
They are.
telling me, yeah. That's when you know you're a good lawyer, when your friends hire you. Like your friends really know you, how you getting down up in these court legal streets. So, anyways, my homeboy came to me on a non-legal. It wasn't like he was coming to me on a consultation or anything like that. He was just talking to me about what happened on his date. He went on a date with a young lady, and they first went to a bar. They were drinking, having a good time. And towards the end, when they were about to leave, and the bar, it wasn't closed, but maybe 20, 30 minutes before they closed, the young lady that he was with, she asked the bartender for a cup of water, right? That's reasonable. We all have been at bars, restaurant establishments where you like, hey, can you give me a glass of water? Especially when you sitting at the bar, because they're there to serve you. They're there to constantly ask you, what do you want to drink, And
They know you've
so
been drinking. You deserve it.
exactly. And so my homeboy was saying, so my first thing was like, okay, what were you guys ordering alcohol prior to this? And he said, yeah. The whole time they were there, they had ordered multiple shots, multiple drinks. They had been tipping the bartender. Everything had been fine. So at this particular point, the girl he's on a date with, she asks the bartender for a cup of water. The bartender tells her, hey, you can pour your own cup of water. It's a glass, a picture of water at the end of the bar. You can pour your own water. So the young lady is like, well, I see that that's down there, but it's been sitting out all day. It's not covered up and it's hot. I really would like a glass of cold water. Can you please pour me some water? Reasonable, right? Like that's been out there all day. You know what I mean? Like I'm a little, and apparently homegirl had been, taking a couple shots, so she lit. I'm not a big drinker, but obviously I know when people drink heavy liquor, they get hot, they might be sweating, whatever. She probably trying to keep it cute. She want a glass of water, and also water helps you sober up. So, anyways, that's probably everything going through her mind. And I asked my homeboy, I said, was she a cute girl? He said, yeah, she was cute. She was dressed cute. She was fly. Like everything was cute. So she asked him for a cup of water. She said, no, I don't want to get it from the pitcher. That's hot. Can you please give me a cup of water? So the bartender refuses and basically like, no, if you want some water, you're going to get it from, the picture at the end. So the girl, like, I don't, yeah. So the girl basically, yeah. So the girl he's on a date with basically pushing back. Like, nah, like I don't understand why you can't give me a glass of water. Like you've been serving us this whole night, bringing us drinks. I just want water. Like I want some cold water, some fresh water. So out of nowhere, the bartender gets a glass of water and throws it in her face and said, "Here, you want some water? Here's your water." Throws it in the girl's face.
Oh no, I would have to brace for impact for that one because I would have felt so disrespectful. The level of disrespect from my bartender. One, she should have offered her water. She knows she drinking. She knows it's late. She should have offered that water.
Should have offered it. So immediately, we're in the state of Texas. Everybody is packing, everybody's carrying, so that's very dangerous for of the bartender had to have done that. She don't know what the girl, yeah, she don't know what the girl was carrying, how the girl was gonna react. But I looked at it from the perspective of, when you go in these bars, there's usually bouncers that are first duty is to protect the establishment, to protect the employees. And so my homeboy said, soon as the bartender did that, the girl, of course, was, she was reactive. And the bouncer came over there and got everybody, And so I'm like, of course, that's why the bartender did what she did, because she knew the bouncers was there. But real quick before we close, from a legal perspective, my thought was, you know what? This might be a blessing in disguise for that young lady because it was only water. And so if I was her, right, I would hire me an attorney. I'd have my attorney send over a notice of intent to sue, a demand letter, and demand financial payment for that assault and battery. Because a lot of people forget that you don't have to physically touch somebody for it to be assault and battery. Her throwing that glass of water in that girl's face was assault and battery. I'm sure the girl got all type of emotional distress issues now. You know what I mean? And I would get paid off the situation. I'll be up on TMZ, the girl who got paid for getting water thrown in her face. So what you think about that legally?
Yeah, I think not only that, I wouldn't be suing her. I would sue the bar. I would sue the bouncer.
Yeah, for sure. Because the
Yeah, I
bartender
would
don't
sue
got any money. No, we
yeah,
we coming after the bar because that
yeah.
was their employee.
We're gonna name everybody. Not only that, I want to know what water that is. Is it Evian? We're gonna sue everybody. Okay, that's what we do. We're gonna sue absolutely everybody, and y'all gonna fight out amongst yourselves to decide who's gonna pay my mortgage next month. Because hello, we're not playing that. We're not playing those games.
Period.
Absolutely not.
Stop playing with my goddamn client. We don't give a damn if it was water or not. Like,
Hell no.
yeah, my client, we would have got paid off of that.
Absolutely.
So
So you
I
want to
told my
come up
home,
with some words, words for the weak, words for the wise, because obviously, as you notice, it's a wild week out there in the legal system.
it was a wild week. So I say pardon words for, the consumers out there, the people who out there are looking to hire attorneys for certain situations. I say the first pardon word is make sure you get you a lawyer that's gonna stand on business, like our boy Brian Steele. Make sure you get you a lawyer that's gonna go hard for you, like he did for his client. That was a great example of how you show people not to play with your goddamn client. So if you're gonna hire a lawyer that ain't gonna play about you. But at the same time, you brought up a good thing when we were talking earlier, Deshaun. It's not just hiring a good lawyer, but make sure you are putting yourself in a position to have an excellent relationship with your lawyer, like the relationship Young Thug has with Steele, because apparently Steele has had a relationship with Young Thug for a while. And then also a lot of times when we're representing clients, we need clients to be truthful with us, okay? Because we're not gonna trust you as a client. We're not gonna go, we can't go as hard for you if you're withholding information. We get caught up in court and we find out you lied about something. So be truthful with your lawyer, you know, build a rapport relationship with your lawyer. Don't make it so much transactional, because then if we build that kind of friendship with you, if you will, then it allows us to go even harder for you when things come about in the court. When you agree?
Absolutely. Listen, you don't want your attorney, backdooring you, throwing you up under the bus. Listen, be honest, be truthful, and get you a lawyer that's not gonna play about you. Okay, that's how we
Exactly.
do it. You paying the money out your pocket. That's your attorney. That's your friend. For the moment when y'all have that attorney-client relationships, you don't play with them, they won't play with you.
That's exactly how I go. And then the other thing, when it comes to the copyright matter, you know, I'm gonna side with the customers in that's getting the tattoos, and I feel like pardon words for those people getting tattoos. Make the tattoo artist sign a work for hire release so that you can be the full copyright owner over the tattoo. And then as far as the tattoo artist, I will give the reverse advice for them. If they want tips on how to protect their work, then perhaps they need to make the customer sign an agreement, just acknowledging their copyright, and they putting some parameters around, you know, enforcement of the copyright. What's your take?
Let's see how that go, because I can see people getting tattoos, being drunk, being dizzy. So I would say, you know, that caveat, if you guys can't whip out a quick contract, because, you know, your attorney is on a podcast and she's busy right now, pull out your phone and maybe have them do a little video. Say, listen, my attorney told me if you could look in the camera and say this one sentence, please, we can work with that. Do something
But
to
I don't
protect.
know if that would work though. Would it?
Yeah, because I think in this case, not only did LeBron stay silent, but LeBron did not acknowledge this man's copyright. So I don't even know if he had the copyright prior to him doing all the tattoos on LeBron. I think it ended up only applying to some of the tattoos because he never had it when he started. He did almost half his sleeve and some of his back. No, sir. I'm sorry. You got that gun going before you have any acknowledgement of your copyright or it's pending. It's not set in stone. No, sir. No, you're going to have to let it go.
I could dig it. I could dig it. Well, cool beans. This was fun, girl. And so this wraps up our very first launch episode of Stop Playing with My Goddamn Client. And if you need a lawyer to not play about you and asserting your rights, you got two wonderful lawyers here. I am attorney Candace Shantell Patrick, and I am the founding and managing attorney at Shantell Law. You can reach my office at 844-480-0480. And then you have my wonderful beast of a colleague, Deshaun Wagner. Deshaun, what's your contact information at your office?
Yes, I am Deshaun Wagner, and I'm out of obviously the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Don't say DMV, but obviously you can reach me. Either honestly, I can drop my Instagram for y'all at _@days of shine because I'm always ready to be available. You know, I got this thing attached to my hand, so contact.
Cool
Thank
beans.
you for joining us. We'll be back next
Yeah, we
week.
signing off. Until
Yes,
next time.
bye bye.
Bye bye.